So, Abraham, what I'm looking for is more direction.
Get on the high flying disc.
Okay.
And then?
Okay, so is it really an interpersonal decision? If you are on the high flying disc and you want to be more like, say, Dr. Dyer, who ultimately, I think I've had a lot of conversations with him, feels like to give away what you have is along the lines of nobility. It's a very noble type of...
Well, maybe it is or isn't, but you see, this is the thing that we are really wanting to talk about, and you are too, is that we don't want to evaluate the rightness or the wrongness, the nobility or the whatever of actions or behaviors or possessions, because that's evaluating from the outside in. We want you to get on the inside and then do what you feel inspired to do, rather than trying to guide your life by what others have done. Because there's always someone who will tout, this behavior is what has brought me to this place, and therefore if you want to be in this place, then offer this behavior. And we say, there are a whole lot of people that are going to the park to have a good time who don't have a good time because they needed to be having a good time before they went to the park. You see, that really is the conversation that we're having here. It's not about what you're doing. It's about how you feel when you're doing it. And none of you can evaluate the rightness or the wrongness of what anybody else is doing because you don't really know how they're feeling when they're doing it. Oh, this is so good. So what most people are doing, they're running around and they're measuring manifestations. They're measuring behaviors. And they're saying, these are noble behaviors and these are less noble behaviors and these are ridiculously awful behaviors. And you make your laws and rules and you opinionate about people based upon their behaviors, and we say it's so much wasted effort because you don't know what disc they were on when they offered that, and therefore nothing that you know about what they did is of any value to you at all. And if you're on that high-flying disc and you rendezvous with them, then you will understand them. You'll understand what they are doing. Or if they're on a lower flying disc and you rendezvous with them there, then you will understand what they're doing. But we don't want you to try to guide your life at all by what anybody else is doing. And it's not an easy thing, because when you stand in these places of predominance, there are a lot of people looking at you, trying to pattern themselves after you. And every day, Esther says, the only thing I want them to know about me is that I'm having fun. I want to express my happy beingness, my aligned beingness. Everything else is irrelevant. Because, you'll like this. So all through life, all of you, each of you, have been living and sifting and discerning and tossing things into your vortex. You've been carving out your personal preferences. Now, we acknowledge that it's hard to carve out those personal preferences without some influence of others, but nevertheless, you've carved out personal preferences. So when you get on your high-flying disc, your personal preferences are going to flow right into your experience. When somebody else gets on their high-flying disc, the contents of their vortex is going to flow right into their experience. So everybody gets what they put into their vortex, and there are different things in different people's vortices. Some just want to be in nature all the time, and some want to build empires. You are so diverse in your intentions even coming in, you see. And so the comparative experience of what I'm manifesting versus what you're manifesting, and the rightness or the wrongness of those manifestations, is such a wild goose chase.
And I understand that.
Yeah?
I guess what I'm trying to look for is some commonalities. Like one of the takeoffs you guys did in the early days was a Q&A with Jerry and Abraham, and Jerry went through this thing where a lot of his friends lost all of their money, and this really served me in 07, 08. And he said, but right away he turned around and all of a sudden they'd have a new boat or a new house or something like this. They gained it right back like that. And he was wondering, but see, what you're about to say is a commonality among people, because if you see that type of an activity happening, you can kind of point to it and say, this is why.
But
and that's what I'm looking for.
But the commonality that we pointed to in that instance was that as long as there was something more for them to lose, they held themselves in that guarded, defensive place. So that was the pipe that they had open, and so that was what kept being delivered to them. But once it was all gone, and there was nothing else to protect or guard, then they let go of that. They had a paradigm shift, a vibrational shift, and then their desire was more easily satisfied. And so what we are always wanting to get back to is the law of attraction basis. What we're always wanting to get back to is your vibrational basis. What we are always wanting to get back to is the relationship between you as you stand in your magnificent physical beingness and your inner being who stands in its magnificent non-physical beingness. That relationship is everything, and everything else is nothing by comparison.
So for one person, their inner being, if they were aligning to it, may say make more millions, and for another person it may say serve the homeless by going to a shelter and helping them individually.
And how
if they were both aligned on the high-flying disc.
There are many paths to the same thing. You see, there are many different paths, but we will say this emphatically: there is no joyous light at the end of the tunnel if going through the tunnel wasn't fun. In other words, and so that tells you if you're having fun. But you see, we don't want it to be about what's at the end. We want it to be about how you're feeling now. We want to say to you, and we want you to feel it and know it and own it and be it, that if you're feeling as good as you say you're feeling, and we are not doubting it at all, then you're on the path and you've got it all figured out. But can you feel how you stumble on that path every time you try to compare your path to anyone else's? Tried to head it off a little, but we weren't successful.
I get it. I get it. I just always trying to stay open to different teachers, and I think that they have these premises that they feel are very valuable that they want to impart on you, and some of these are theories and kind of ways to live your life and all of this. And what you're saying is really don't listen to the teachers that have helped me so much and listen to my insight more.
Well, we're saying those teachers have all led you to your understanding of this insight, but now you've got the insight that trumps everything.
That's true.
In the early days, people were giving books to Jerry and Esther all of the time, and we encouraged Esther not to read anything because we didn't want her to be concerned about where she was getting what she was getting. We wanted her to know that the impulses were coming from us. And so, but Jerry found this one book, and it was written by a prominent author of the time, and it had a spread of several points to live by. So he sat with us one day and he said, Abraham, I'm going to read these points to you, and I would just like your commentary on them. So we listened to the points, and then we said, someone who believes that cannot possibly believe that, and if you believe that, then that's invalid. And if you believe, and it was just a bunch of stuff that they'd cobbled together that sounded good to the ears of people that were vibrationally without integrity. Because if you believe that, then your vibration is such that that would not even come to you. It could not even occur to you. So that's really what we're talking about with all of you. And you've managed in different ways to get to these places of where your point of attraction is what you want it to be. We just want you to always know that there is always another reaching. In the very simplest of stories, we used to say that, so you live in a house and it doesn't please you, it's not green and beautiful out there like you want it to be or whatever, and so you set your intentions based upon the contrast that you're living for another place, and then you move into your new house only to discover that it has no kitchen. It's really green out there, but it has no kitchen. So now you're living in a place that's really green, and now you want a kitchen. And so you begin fantasizing, and now you find yourself in a new house, and it's really beautiful and green out there, and it has a magnificent kitchen. But there are not enough closets in this house. And so it's kind of like that, where it is through life that you keep redefining, you keep recreating who you are through the wonderful contrast that surrounds you. But there is something that happens, I think, that sort of just clicks into place with you. When you finally get it, when you finally accept that you are the creator of your reality and that the universe is responding to your vibration and that you do have the ability to guide your vibration deliberately. And then you put it together that the way you feel is the way you know what you're doing. And then on top of all of that, the way you feel be's the most important thing to you. Nothing matters more than feeling good, you see. For Esther, she had to have some time of feeling so bad that she couldn't even stand to be in her body, before the idea of feeling good took its proper place in her vibrational universe. In other words, you just have to want to feel good enough to find a reason to feel good. And when you discover that there are not enough circumstances that can change, that you can't count on other people to do the things that you need them to do in order for you to feel good, that your happiness is dependent upon no one else, upon nothing that anyone else does, it's only dependent upon your alignment with who you are and your conscious willingness to keep reaching to a new place and then aligning again. So for the likes of you and the likes of Esther and so many of you in this room, it is so exhilarating to stand in a place that by almost anybody's standards would be close to perfection and still understand that you're not done, that there's still some refinement that you want to do, and to have that delicious moment of inspiration when that new refinement occurs to you, and then recognize that there is a little vibrational variance between this new thing that is hatched within you and where you are, but you've got the confidence and the knowledge because of where you've been and how you've applied yourself to know without question that all it takes is just a little bit of focus, a little bit of refining, and then you get that orgasmic, intoxicating, visceral feeling of being able to align thought by thought by thought by thought and feel it coming into alignment and feeling the movement of the energy in your body and feeling the power, the invincibility of who you are, and recognizing that not only are you the creator of your own reality, you are the creator of a reality that is magnificent, and the reality that matters most is the reality, the emotional reality that you're living right now. And so then you might say something. So then you might say something that is misunderstood by others. Stuff I used to care about, I don't care about that much anymore. Because that was then and this is now. And what's now for me is alignment. What's now for me is empowerment. What's now for me is mind and alignment and energy and upliftment. What's now for me is being all that I am in every moment. What's now for me is being able to go anywhere, anytime, with anyone and maintain my alignment, to be the most momentous, dominant vibration in the room. See? And then that's living happily ever after, because there's always another room, there's always another bunch of people to play with, there's always another idea, there's always another invention, there's always another billion to attract.
And that's all I had. If you could remember to bring this topic up in November with Dr. Dyer Abraham, if you could remember your friend from Denver, Colorado.
It will be fun. Esther has said, people say, what are you going to talk about? Esther says, I don't know and I don't want to know, because I don't want to get anything in my head. I just want to show up as an open vessel to allow a conversation between masters to take place. That's all I want. I don't want to know. And so she's not going to remember this, and neither are we.
Can I tie a string around your finger?
But we do want to say to you,
yes,
we want it not to matter to you at all what anybody else thinks about anything or what anybody else does about anything, because you cannot really relate to any other than who you are. And we think that in some way that you are like almost everybody else, Esther does it too, still seeking a tiny bit of rightness and wrongness validation.
Yes.
And you got to give that up.
Yep.
And when you do, then it's all good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.